very, very high-profile bout between Jorge Masvidal and Leon Edwards is off.
Yes.
Jorge Masvidal had an undisclosed injury, so he will no longer be able to compete at UFC 269 against Leon Edwards. And here's going to be a big part of probably today's discussion, Dominic, because we saw a lot of people throw their name in the hat to step in and fight Leon Edwards. Some familiar foes, some people Leon's been scheduled with in the past or has even had fights with that didn't really get the conclusion that they needed, and some new guys as well. So let's just start here with this discussion by saying, what are your thoughts on this fight being out? And maybe I'm just going to ask you straight up, Dominic. I think there's two different trains of thought going right now for Leon Edwards and what he should do. What do you think Leon Edwards should do next?
All right, so first off, it sucks that this fight fell through. This is the three-piece in the soda, 2.5 years in the making, and it's delayed once more. Maybe it's just one of those fights that is not meant to be. Oddly enough, I just have to throw this out there. After the UFC 268 card at the post-fight presser, Colby Covington says, you know what? George Masvidal should just pull out of that fight against Leon Scott, is what he called Leon Edwards. He said he should just pull out of that fight. This is clearly the fight to make, and we'll do the Ultimate Fighter together and fight each other. Well, less than a week later, Jorge Masvidal does, in fact, pull out of this fight. And now I'm not going Eddie Bravo here and saying when you look into it. I'm not doing none of that. I'm just saying it's a little weird. That's all.
You're just saying when you look into it.
But, for Leon Edwards, okay, man, this guy can't catch a damn break, whether it's his fault, his opponent's fault, the world's fault, COVID's fault. This guy can't catch a break. It happens here again. So what do we do with Leon Edwards? Well, he tweets himself when this fight falls through yesterday when we're recording this, saying, I knew this was going to happen all along. And, Jorge doesn't want none of this work, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to take some time with the family. Kamaru Usman, I'll see you soon. All right. Well, I want to see Leon fight for the title just as much as the next guy. But I don't know if that's what's going to happen here, Noah. I really don't know, because first off, Kamaru Usman just went 5 rounds with Colby Covington in one of the best fights of the year. I'd say he's out until at least, what is it now, November? I say we don't see him at the earliest April of 2022, if not later than that. I foresee a long layoff for him. The way he acted after the fight, wanted to be with his daughter, take some time away. Does Leon want to sit out that long? And in return, it would be another full year between Leon Edwards fights. He fought Nate in May, right? Or was it June?
It was June.
June. So damn near a year, depending on when that fight would happen. So, yeah, I mean, if you want Leon, try and sit out. But according to what Dana's been saying lately, he's not too big on people sitting out waiting for title shots. I think the UFC is going to try as hard as they can to keep Leon on this card. And I think they're going to try as hard as they can to rebook a fight that Leon has had scheduled before with none other than the biggest hype train in the UFC right now, Khamzat Chimaev. Now, does Leon Edwards accept that fight? I don't know. It's looking like that he won't. From what I'm seeing with these reporters and what he tweeted, it doesn't look like he wants to fight. Usman is his priority. But is the UFC going to force his hand? Are they just going to pass over him? That's the biggest question I have here. So if I'm Leon, as much as it sucks that this happens to you and that you should just get the title, maybe you should stay on that December card. And maybe it's not Khamzat Chimaev, but I damn sure think that's what the UFC wants. And that was the first option I sent in our group chat on the Twitter DMs to say that's what should happen. And I'm going to stick to it here, Noah. There's a little bit of history there already. It's a badass fight. They need something to be the featured bout on that card. Khamzat Chimaev, Leon Edwards is what I would do.
Really? I'm color me shocked. You're Mr. Leon should just be given the title on a silver platter.
I know. It hurts. It pains me, Noah.
Sorry, you're not even one of the bad ones. So let me refocus my.
Thank you.
Let me refocus here. To anybody out there who is saying like Leon needs to not fight in December, and he has earned his title shot. He deserves it. They might as well just make him another belt and wrap it around his waist and blah, blah, blah. I mean, my God, they want this guy to to be just given, a fucking steak dinner while somebody's fucking massaging his feet and stuff before he fights.
That does sound nice.
Gross. Anyways, and I'm just not in that camp. I can't look at this guy's resume, and everybody wants to talk about a win streak, and I get it. He hasn't lost since the last time he fought Kamaru Usman. That's impressive. That was back in December 2015. So he hasn't lost since, and it's a good win streak. But if you look deeper into the names on this win streak, it just doesn't quite hold up anymore. Like, yes, Vicente Luques is a win on there.
Yep.
But this is Vicente Luque before he was the number 5 ranked guy in the world.
Right.
This is, again, Vicente Luque back in March of 2017, unranked fighter. The wins that matter on this win streak, in my opinion, is the decision win over Donald Cerrone.
Mm-hmm.
That was Donald Cerrone right before he kind of went on that dad Cerrone run.
Yeah.
So, good win, but this is journeyman Cerrone in a way. Follows that up with a split decision win over Gunnar Nelson. Gunnar Nelson, good fighter, but if you're a championship contender, probably shouldn't go to a split decision with Gunnar Nelson. Follows that up with a unanimous decision win and the most impressive win on his resume up to this point against RDA Rafael dos Anjos.
Yeah, for sure.
And the problem with that is a lot of people think that that's the fight that earned him a title shot. And there is an argument to be made for that. That fight happened in July 2019. Problem is, if you look at the history for RDA at that point, like what his resume was looking like, we all know RDA is a better lightweight than he is as a welterweight, but he's still, I think, a bit underrated as a welterweight. He was a damn good fighter in that division.
Oh, yeah.
And that's made more clear by the fact that before this fight, RDA fought Colby Covington for the interim welterweight title. Colby won that fight, and that was supposed to propel him into a high-profile bout for the title with Tyron Woodley. Obviously, that didn't happen. But then after that, RDA fights Kamaru Usman. Usman gets a big win over him, and that propels Usman into a title fight with Tyron Woodley. Mm-hmm. So you see Colby and Usman beating RDA is what got them a title fight.
Right.
But you have to understand RDA is at this point, by then, taking 2 losses back-to-back. He gets a win over a debuting in the division, Kevin Lee, and then follows that up with another loss to Leon Edwards. So there's an argument to be made that that win over RDA could have propelled him to a title shot. But I think since you already saw it 2 times previous, too little, too late. He needs one more fight. Well, he was booked next in March of 2020 to fight Tyron Woodley, who at that point, Tyron Woodley had only lost to Usman.
Yeah.
I mean, this is before he took the fights with Gilbert Burns, with Colby Covington, Vicente Luque, where he went on eventually a 4-fight losing streak. This is Tyron Woodley, who had lost his belt the year prior. So we really expected him to come back, and I think he still had quite a pedigree to him still. So if Leon would have won that fight, and I think he would have, considering what we've seen from Tyron, that would have been the fight that earned him a title shot.
Right.
But as we all know, March of 2020, something else happened, and that's called COVID-19.
Yes.
That card gets scrapped. Leon ends up not fighting until June of 2021 because, well, some of it's not his fault. Let's be clear. I mean, COVID-19, and he's from the UK.
Yeah.
The UK restrictions, from what I understand, very harsh, very tough. If you're someone trying to fight, go out of the country, fight in the United States, very tough to do, from what I understand. So it was hard for him to get a fight, hard for him to probably get a training camp together. All this is where I kind of start to say, screwed by just life at this point.
Yeah.
But then, and then he does get booked for the end of the year against. I don't remember if Khamzat was the first opponent, but Khamzat's who they ended up booking him with. And I still stand by at that time. That was a big opportunity for Leon. Khamzat had a bigger name than Leon, and that still holds true today. And now the fight even makes even more sense because Khamzat's at least beaten a ranked fighter. regardless, the fight ends up not happening. Then Leon has the fight with Bilal Muhammad. So sorry, not June 2021. He ended up fighting in March of 2021, so a year after his bout with Woodley. Then you have the accidental eye poke, and Bilal's unable to continue. So the fight's a no contest. I mean, the list goes on, but
yeah.
Let's be clear. Before his win over Nate Diaz, Leon had not had a win in a UFC octagon 2 years before that.
Right.
You can't tell me that regardless of, look, the elements, I get it. But if you're telling me that after the no contest with Bilal, that he should have just been given a title shot when he hadn't won a fight in 2 years,
yeah,
I just can't get behind that. I can't. I understand that it's not all his fault, but then he's not made it easy either, because he kind of has been stingy about, at least it appears, he got removed from the rankings for likely refusing to take the Khamzat fight.
Yeah.
Eventually takes it, then it falls through 3 times. I mean, just so much shit going on. But he's kind of lacked that urgency. Like he feels like he's already earned it. So he's kind of walking around with his chin a little high, in my opinion. Like I think it's a little too much.
Right.
Like he feels like he can't, just because he earned it in 2019, or you could have earned it in 2020 or whatever. Sorry, pal. The sport moves on.
Yep.
And this is going to be my reasoning for not wanting him to wait, because yes, I get it. Should he be fighting for a title next? If you had to tell me who's next for Usman right now, if nobody else had a fight booked, who gets the next shot? Leon Edwards has earned it more than, I would say at this point, Gilbert Burns has, Vicente Luque, Khamzat, whoever. But if Leon Edwards waits, and we assume Kamaru probably won't fight again until at least sometime in the spring, do not tell me that Luque or Khamzat cannot come in there, make a statement that forces the UFC to have to reconsider. And I'm sorry, but Leon's accomplishments, his biggest wins in the past. The Nate Diaz win was nice, but what's the most memorable part of that fight?
I know.
The last minute where where Nate nearly knocks him out. That's just the reality of the situation. So I wish that Leon, as great as he is, as good of a person as I'm sure he is, and as much as I hate to kind of feel like I'm ragging on the guy so much, I wish he was a little more self-aware of where his standing is. Instead of looking at what's fair, look at what it is.
Yeah. Waiting can hurt him more than help him, undoubtedly.
It's already hurt him.
Yeah, we've seen it.
I mean, how are you? This is a guy who already struggled to have any sort of support or following. I mean, there is a lot of people that are supporting him and getting a title shot, but overall, he's a lesser known, even though he's ranked number 3, his name value is less than that of Colby Covington, obviously Usman. I would say at this point it's even less than Luque, Burns.
Right.
Khamzat obviously has a lot of momentum. So waiting, not fighting until April and hoping that they book you for the fight, that's only going to make it worse.
Yeah.
And if Khamzat fights, even if it's someone like Bilal or Neil Magny in December, and he does to them what he's done in his 4 previous bouts, don't tell me that the UFC won't consider putting him in a title fight over Leon. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I look at Khamzat right now as he's 1 win away from a title. That's how I look at it. Yeah.
And I would like that to be against someone ranked a little higher than Bilal or Neil.
And Vicente in the same boat. So again, as Noah said, if these guys fight while Leon waits and make a statement, they can hop the line again. You know what I mean? I think he needs to fight. And like I said, it doesn't even have to be Khamzat. There's guys looking to fight in December.
Yeah, it doesn't have
Gilbert
to be
wants
Khamzat.
to fight.
If
Vicente wants to fight.
Even if he fought Bilal again.
Bilal. They want to fight in December.
I'm not super high on Bilal. Like, he's ranked number 9, I think, in the division. Yep. Not really where I would place him, just being honest, from what I've seen. He can prove me wrong on that, but just from what I've seen, I probably wouldn't put him that high. But even if he took that fight and got the clear victory that I assume he would probably get and kind of avenge that no contest, that weird no contest he had, I would even go, okay, at least you stayed active.
Yep, you got another win.
I mean, I'd like to think that I would then go, okay, here's your title fight. But again, man, these guys aren't as far away. Like, Leon doesn't have such a lead over these guys for a title shot as he thinks that he does. I mean, if Luque and Khamzat fight each other, and let's say they have the
winner of that
fucking war.
Yeah.
I mean, let's say they have a Gaethje Chandler type fight, and Leon does what Leon does against Bilal. Who looks a little bit better? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not. We can argue the semantics on if that's right or what, but it's the reality of the situation. So if I was on Leon Edwards' team, I would be pushing for him to fight in December. Now, do you fight a Khamzat? Who do you fight? Who is it? I'd probably, if I was him, I would try to go for probably Luque again. You beat him once, even though he's much improved. You're much improved. You've got a feel for him the first time. He's got an exciting fight style, so he can probably bring out a fun fight in you, and a win over him. He's, in my opinion, less of a Khamzat is a terrible matchup for Leon Edwards. I'm not saying that's how it would play out. I'm just saying on paper it's a bad matchup.
Yeah.
Luque is a better matchup for Edwards than Khamzat is.
Yeah, and Khamzat excluded, he has the most momentum between him, Burns, and Bilal. So the other three options, you know what I mean? So,
agreed.
Yeah.
Now let me get your thoughts. Ariel Helwani talked about this on the MMA Hour, and he gave a very strong quote. He's been big. He's been king of the Leon support. So that's going to explain why he feels so strongly. I mean, I'm pretty sure he thought the RDA fight was enough to get Leon the title fight. He said, if because of this, Leon doesn't get booked in a title fight, that if he were Leon, he would ask for his release from the UFC.
That's a bit much. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, we want these guys to keep fighting and making money. I mean, I don't think asking for a release.
I guess I'm just curious.
I mean,
you mentioned you're sorry, not to cut you off. I just want to give you some direction. You were mentioning, some of these things, reasons, the elements that have prevented Leon to, and you can't pinpoint one. There's some of it's been his fault. Some of it's been the world we're living in.
Yep.
Some of it's been
his opponent.
Do you want to throw it at the UFC? I look at it more like just the lack of, you can say the lack of promotion maybe for him, and therefore the lack of support, I guess. There's just a lot of factors that have kind of prevented him from really getting it.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess, do you blame any one element enough to where either you blame the UFC enough to where you're like, he needs to just cut ties, go somewhere else where he'll be appreciated? Or do you think it's all about the world we live in, where it's like, the opponent's dropping out and stuff? Is that the biggest to blame? And that, he just needs to either stay active, or the UFC needs to understand the year we have COVID and that we're still going through it that we've had, and kind of just look at his resume previously as a means of giving him a fight that he's earned, I guess, prior? Or is it mostly on him and he's not as close to a title fight as he thinks he is? That was a lot of word vomit right there, but I hope I gave you some clear thoughts.
I think there's just so much drama and shit that has happened in his career that you can't just pinpoint one thing and be like, all right, that's it. He's had enough. Just be done with the UFC. I don't like that sentiment. I still think he's an amazing talent. He's still in his prime in terms of his age. And I feel like he can be a champion. I don't know if he's going to beat Usman or not, but I'm saying he has talent to be a champion. He's got the market behind him with the UK and London. So it's like leaving the UFC does nothing but hurt him even more. You know what I mean? I know that a lot of people feel he should get a title, Ariel excluded. And again, if he gets it, I'm not going to be angry. I just don't think that should come next, and therefore he should stay active. But asking for a release, and it's just like, I don't know, man. Do you really want to do that? And then is that a good look going into free agency? I mean, yeah, Bellator and PFL would be all over a guy like Leon, but it wouldn't feel the same with him over there. He belongs with these elite guys, and it's just a matter of fighting all of them and being tested. I don't like asking for a release. He belongs in the UFC.
Yeah, I agree. And one last point before we move on. Let's say Leon doesn't take the fight. As stacked as UFC 269 is, I would kind of argue that you could probably still add another big fight now. So let's say Khamzat is probably the likeliest of options to take a fight in December. Who would be your ideal, based on the amount of interest you've seen from different guys and the matchups ahead? Which fight do you think would be most likely to occur with Khamzat for December?
Well, for what it's worth, Khamzat's been on one lately on Twitter. This guy, getting verified, by the way. What are we doing here without the blue check mark? But
this man's coming after the Paul brothers. He's going after everybody.
Yeah. So obviously, if the Leon fight doesn't happen, I still think we're going to see Khamzat on this card in December for sure, but hopefully on the UFC 269 card in a featured bout. And, Bilal responded to Khamzat, said he's down. Gilbert responded to Khamzat and said he's down for a scrap. So either one of those two makes sense. I'd love to see. I want him specifically with Luque, but maybe Luque just wasn't on Twitter yesterday or something. I didn't really see anything from him. So if he fights Bilal, all for it. If he fights Gilbert, I'm even more so for it because it launches him right in there.
Please give me Gilbert Burns versus Khamzat.
That's the one you wanted. So either one of those. But yeah, I said this off recording. I said it last night in the group chat. I'm going to say it again for all of our lovely Joey community to listen and hear. I think we're going to see Khamzat Chimaev fight somebody at UFC 269.
Yeah, I think the likeliest fight is going to be Bilal Muhammad or Neil Magny.
Yeah, I forgot about Neil Magny too.
But I want to see Gilbert Burns so bad. Please put that into my veins right now.
And if it's not Luque, I want to see him fight Gilbert Burns too.
Honestly, though, like Gilbert Burns versus Vicente Luque could be added to that card. Put two of these five guys.
Any of them that are available.
Card. Put four of those five guys that want to fight on that card.
Yeah, let's do a tag team match or something.
Moving on.